You have your package there in front of you. Item number 2 is approval of the agenda. Is there any additions or deletions? I have one addition, if I may, and that is the Yarmouth Foundation, Hospital Foundation Radiothon for February 7th. I'd like to have that just added as under new business. Is there anything else? If not, I'll accept a motion to accept the agenda as amended. Moved by the Deputy Warden. Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Allen. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Thank you. Just let me get to my... It would be item number 10 under new business there for the hospital, please. On that, item number 3, is there a declaration of any conflict of interest with any of the items on the agenda? I take it that there isn't. We'll move on to item number 4, which is the approval of the minutes of December 19th. Both public transcript, in camera, regular. The January 9th, Committee of the Whole meetings, in camera, and public transcript. I would accept a motion to approve those. Go ahead, Councillor.
I move for the approval of the minutes of December the 19th, 2018 regular council meeting minutes, December the 19th, 2018 in-camera meeting minutes, December the 19th, 2018 public transcript, January the 9th, 2019 Committee of the Whole meeting minutes, January the 9th, 2019 in-camera meeting minutes, January the 9th, 2019 public transcript meeting minutes.
It's been moved by Councillor Gerard LeBlanc. Do we have a seconder for that? Seconded by Councillor Durkee. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Item number 5, Warden's remarks. This evening, councillors, my remarks won't be very long. My remarks this evening, as I stated, won't be very long, but that doesn't mean that we as councillors and so on and the staff have not been busy in the month of January. But I want to start off by saying I hoping that everybody in the municipality and in Yarmouth County, and I'll say within Nova Scotia and within Canada, had a happy new year, a safe new year, and to move on for 2019. And that you're looking forward to all the good things in 2019. Council has, in the month of January, already sat down, and councillors have realigned their committee commitments, and we've changed a few of the councillors on different committees and so on, just to make a change for the councillor to have an understanding of some of the other committees that we have been sitting on over the last couple of years. That went very well. I think there'll be a lot of new ideas possibly brought to some of the committees and so on that we sit on. On January 16th, the Municipality of Yarmouth, the Municipality of Argyll, and the Town of Yarmouth's wardens and mayors took part in a State of the Region put on by the Yarmouth Chamber of Commerce. It was well attended. It was an opportunity for each one of the municipal units to put forward what their council has done for 2016 or 2018, excuse me, and hopefully what we're looking forward for 2019, what some of the projects and some of the go forward plans for each one of the units. As I stated, it was well attended. It was at the Grand Hotel. I take this opportunity again to thank my fellow councillors and staff from the Municipality of Yarmouth who took the time to be present, to support myself, and to show support to the business community, that you as councillors are involved and want to stay connected to the business community, and also that the staff of the municipality are also very supportive of the industries that we have in businesses. What's coming up here in February is it's African Heritage Month, and I know Councillor Trevor Cunningham knows this very well, as he has participated in through the Tri-County School Board. African Heritage Month is for the full month of February, and the kickoff is tomorrow on the 24th in Digby. That's where they start every year, and it is a month where history, African heritage and African history is promoted very strongly in the school system, and the Tri-County School Board support it wholeheartedly, and so on. They have a beautiful opening in Digby, and I'm like I say, I have attended it in the past, and I've always enjoyed it. It's been very very informative, and they have a lot of very prominent people that are in the provincial government take part in that, and it's like I say, anybody that wishes, it's tomorrow at 1 o'clock in Digby at I can't give you the address, I'm sorry, but it's on Main Street. It's the new I'll call it their new leisure service building. I don't know if Victoria, you know, it's down the south end of the Main Street, right where, well, anyway, it's a new building, you can't miss it. It's on the left. I forgot the address, I apologize. Anyway, on February 23rd at 6 p.m. they'll be holding their 12th annual Southwest African Heritage Month Gala Dinner and Dance in Digby, and I have attended it in the past. Well, I shouldn't say I've attended. Diana and myself have attended, and it's always been a very enjoyable evening and so on. They have, like I say, they have a guest speaker, and it's a Mr. Fells, if I remember right. It's going to be Lieutenant Colonel. Yes, yeah, Colonel Fells. It's going to be the guest speaker there. They have a lot of entertainment and so on, and the meal has always been fantastic. And they have a dance after, which my wife and I have always enjoyed. And I guess, yeah, that's basically it. I have nothing else at this time. So. Item number 6, business arising. The Port Maitland Fog Alarm Building, surplus property. That was discussed or held over. It was held over, was it not? Councillor Durkee, go ahead.
Sorry, thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, we had originally come up a suggestion to make the Port Maitland Fog Alarm Building surplus, and in the committee of the whole, we decided against moving forward with that at this time, I believe, which didn't require a motion because we just decided that we wouldn't move forward. However, that being said, I would like to make a motion at this point to direct staff to do a staff report on that PM Lighthouse. I'd like to suggest that maybe we have YASTA look at it in the area in terms of, can we develop any tourist experiences around that? Would there be any value to the municipality by fixing it up? Or what's the direction that we should go with it, as opposed to having it just sit there and deteriorate any further? Also, we have a heritage staff member. I'm thinking maybe that we might look at having some research done to find out the actual history of it, and does that actually have any value to us, for us to pursue, so we take it from a liability to an asset. I was there the other day and noticed that actually it had been sided. So I don't know if that would take away the issue, the outside issue with the lead, but I did notice the door is desperately needing painting. So that's what I decided.
Before you move on there, Councillor Cunningham, was that a motion that you,
It is a motion, and also it would be something maybe we could consider in the next budget year if we move forward with it, or if we needed money to do the research for that.
okay. So I guess I'm going to ask Councillor, the motion was, if that was the whole motion, it was quite long. You would just like to direct
staff to ask for a staff report on the PM Lighthouse. That would be
Okay.
the motion.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a seconder before we can go to discussion? Seconded by Councillor Cushion. Councillor Cunningham, you had a comment? Go ahead.
I guess it's not speaking of the motion directly, but the comments leading up to the motion. So, and neither for or against or anything like that, but my recollection of the facts was that there was simply I think that there'd been some recommendation that had come from somewhere around declaring this property surplus. I think Councillor Durkee was not at a meeting, and we held off on having any conversation around it to bring it to this meeting. I think it was I wasn't at the last committee of the whole, so it must have been the last regular council meeting. Am I correct, or am I off base, or am I wrong, or I thought it was just to bring here for discussion. I may be wrong, but just I'd like the record sort of. I'd like some clarification around it. I may be
Press
confused.
your button again. You have to press your button again. Now press it, okay.
If I
Go
may,
ahead, Councillor.
we had a discussion about it at the last committee of the whole meeting where you were not in attendance.
Okay.
Go ahead.
If I can, Mr. Warden. So I'm just going to read directly from the minutes of the January 9th Committee of the Whole meeting. So discussion on the inclusion of the Port Maitland Fog Alarm Building in a listing of surplus properties for possible sale has been deferred to this meeting. So that was deferred from Council in December to the January 9th Committee of the Whole. And following lengthy discussion, consensus of Council is to forward further discussion on the Port Maitland Fog Alarm Building to the January 23rd Council meeting and to circulate to councillors the December 2013 letter from ABL Environmental regarding the property. And that's the conversation that we had on January 9th for deferral to tonight.
Deputy Warden, go ahead.
So my question through you, Mr. Chair, to the CIO is where's that report on the, from ABL on the property?
It was forwarded that night by email to councillors from the executive assistant.
To be very honest, I don't recall that email. And I'd like to read through it before I decided to vote on the motion that we have before us. I'm not sure if I missed the email or I didn't receive it, so I'm looking right now as we speak. That was dated, when you say January the 9th?
Mm-hmm.
For whatever reason, January the 9th, that is not.
I'm back.
Therefore, Mr. Chair, I don't believe that I should be voting on this motion. I would vote. I would much rather have this motion tabled until I can properly go over that email. And I'm going to ask that the CAO resend it to me, because I did not, for whatever reason, get that email.
I have it. It's dated December 6th, 2013 from ABL. But you did send it out on January 9th. So that is, what is the wishes of council then? Do you wish to hold over until you have a chance? Did anybody else? What is your wishes of council? Do you wish to move forward, or? Go ahead, Councillor Allen.
I must have overlooked the email as well. I did find it here right now, but I'd like a chance to review it before making the decision on this. So is it possible, I'm in agreement with Councillor Cunningham, could we table this to the next council meeting, or is this pressing? Is it pressing that we couldn't put it off till the next council meeting? No? I'd be in favor of tabling it as well.
Okay. At the wishes of,
Chair, you need a motion on that regard then?
I gotta stop and think. I believe if you're gonna table a motion, it has, yeah, it would have to be a motion to table the motion. So, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Deputy Warden.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I'd like to make a subsidiary motion to table the original motion until our next regular council meeting in February for a decision at that time.
And would you also in that motion like to have the executive assistant resend? Yep. To resend that, just so we all have it again. And so on. There's been a motion, been motion by Deputy Warden John Cunningham, seconded by Councillor Daniel Allen. Is there any further discussion on that? Question being called. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Carried. Thank you. Thank you, councillors. Item number 7. Yeah, your motion stands for the next council meeting to be brought forward. It's just a table because councillors don't have that information in front of them and so on. I had to go back and find it. I do remember reading it and so on, but so it'll be resent and you folks can discuss it, and I'll have a discussion with the CAO. Possibly we can have that information in paper form at our committee of the whole, and you can, if there's some questions at the item number 7, new business. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you. I just want to add to that. Basically, what I'm interested in at the moment is looking at a study to see whether or not it would be to our advantage to move forward with any type of development.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm asking for.
Yeah.
In my motion.
Yeah.
When it comes back next
Yeah.
month.
Again, item number 7 is under new business. 7.1, letter from Minister of Environment, Solid Waste Resource Management Regulations, for your information. You have that in your package, and I, as a representative, as a chair of Waste Check, sit and chair the Regional Solid Waste Management Committee, which deals with some of this information. And I just want to, I'm trying to correlate all the information that I have. I will read to you first, before this January 16th letter, a letter that I received from the office of the Minister of Environment, Margaret Miller. This is to the Solid Waste Resource Management chairs, because we had written the letter. Thank you for your letter of December 17th, 2018, regarding your request for a meeting to discuss single-use plastic bags. I appreciate the work that the municipalities undertook to discuss and reach position on the idea of a plastic bag ban. Although we are not moving ahead with a plastic bag ban at this time, the broader issue of single-use plastic is a topic we are collaborating on with our colleagues across Canada. In November, Nova Scotia joined the other Canadian provinces, territories, and federal government as a signature to a shared vision of keeping plastics in the economy and out of the environment. The Canadian-wide strategy on zero plastic waste, approved by Nova Scotia in principle, can be viewed by visiting a certain site. In the coming months, Nova Scotia Environment staff members will be involved in the creation of the Canadian Council of Ministers of the Environment Action Plan to realize the zero waste plastic strategy, and as incoming CCME president for the upcoming year, I look forward to advancing this work. I agree it would be timely to meet with regional chairs and ask that an agenda include plastic bags, the Zero Waste Plastic Action Plan, EPR for paper and packaging, the efficiency study, energy from waste, and compliance with bans. Given the ongoing collaboration between regional chairs and Nova Scotia FM on EPR, I also ask that you arrange to have a representative from the Nova Scotia Federation of Municipalities in attendance. And this is from Margaret Miller, the Minister of Environment, and that was on January 9th. Now, Regional Solid Waste Management, which is made up of the 7 regions, were requested by the previous minister just about a year ago on getting all the municipal units on side for a for the ban of single-use plastic. We did that. We went out and we got all the municipal units basically on side. We sent all that information to the Department of Environment, and this is what we got back, that basically they're not going to do anything on the single-use plastic bags. They're not going to ban them, because you did hear in the last part, energy from waste. They are looking now at the possibility of a couple of companies through technology and so on being able to take film plastic and so on, and underutilized plastic, and make energy either. And I think a few of us seen that at FCM. Councillor Allen, you remember, I think it's Substain down in Chester that are taking plastic and making diesel fuel and so on from plastic. So those industries do not want the ban of single-use plastic bags. Okay, so they've approached the Department of Environment and asked them not to move forward on this. So it's kind of put the Solid Waste Resource Management Committee in a position. We were asked by the previous minister to get compliance and consensus from all the municipal units that they wanted this banned. Now the new ministers come back and told us they're not going to do that. So we wasted, I shouldn't say wasted a whole year. We've done a lot of work, and that was put aside. But needless to say, the Solid Waste Management, I had a meeting last Friday in Halifax with the NSFM, with the Priorities Committee, which is a subcommittee of the solid waste, and we had a 4-hour discussion on how to move forward, because we will be meeting with the minister on 2 issues. I gotta get this right. February 23rd, we have a meeting with the Minister of Environment to discuss these topics that I just said: energy from waste, efficiency study, EPR for paper and packaging, and zero waste on plastic. On, I'll get this right now, there's so many. We, again, the Solid Waste Management Committee, won the right, I shouldn't say won the right, we got the permission from Environment to be able to meet with the Liberal Caucus Roundtable through NSFM, which is Nova Scotia Federation of Municipalities, which are moving forward on EPR, which is Extended Producer's Responsibility, which, if that comes into effect, and that'll take a couple of years if it does come into effect, we, the municipal units in Nova Scotia, will not be responsible for any of the recyclable items that the residents put in the blue plastic bags at the end of your driveway. That will be picked up, or will be paid for to be picked up and looked after by industry itself. And in doing that, that would make a return for municipal units in Nova Scotia in the area between $14 and $16 million in savings to municipal units if EPR comes in. some of these energy from waste companies do not want EPR because EPR, it's extended producer's responsibilities. So I know I'm giving you kind of an education here, and I'm trying to make so that maybe the general public will understand. If industry looks after the recyclable items, all the plastic, all the tin cans, all the box board and so on, they could take it right out of province. It would be gone. Okay, it would be gone. Or they would ship it somewhere else. It would be, there would be none in Nova Scotia. It would be just shipped out and be gone. Or they would set up a big MRF, which is a material handling facility, and then they would ship it somewhere else. So we're kind of between a rock and a hard place. Technology doesn't want EPR. Resource management, we want EPR because all the rest of Canada, other than Alberta and New Brunswick and so on, don't have EPR. The rest of Canada has EPR. So we're kind of lagging behind. So it's kind of a catch-22. Some industry participants want it, other industry participants don't want it. But we're working very diligently. But like I say, on the 23rd, I believe, of February, I have a meeting with the minister to talk on some of these issues. And some of my colleagues will be meeting with the Liberal caucus on EPR. So we're kind of hitting them on both sides. And I don't know where it'll go, but trash is a dirty business and it's a hard business. I don't know what else to tell you right at this moment. But Deputy Warden, go ahead.
Mr. Chair, I guess this question is directed directly to you. When you speak about EPR and the businesses that would be paying to take care of the waste, the plastics, the cardboard and stuff, does that mean it'd be like the factory that produces it, or would that be like the businesses like we have around here, the different smaller stores that...
The industry that produces it. And the easiest way to explain it right now is Kraft Dinner, which is a conglomerate of a huge company. You're already paying for the disposal rate, EPR, on that Kraft Dinner box. It's already included in that box, but we're not reaping any of the harvest. We, the municipality, is still putting it down at the end of the road. You're paying a contractor, the municipality is paying a contractor to pick that up, to haul it to a company who charges us to sort it. They bale it and then they ship it, and if they sell it for $1, they lose. If they sell it for $10,000, they made money. If industry has to pay for it, if EPR comes into place, you will still take it in the blue bag and set it down at the end of your driveway. The industry will either hire the municipality, they'll say, you guys pick it up and you ship it to New Brunswick and we pay all the cost. Or they may come in, we have our own hauling company, we'll pick up all the blue bag recyclables in Nova Scotia. That means Halifax, means everywhere. They pick it all up and we're going to ship it to New Brunswick and have a huge MRF handling facility there that'll do all the box board, will do all the plastic, and they'll ship it, they'll recycle it, they'll do whatever they want.
I didn't realize, Mr. Chair, that the industry, like the Kraft Dinners or the ones that produces cardboard boxes, already pay.
They've already included that price in that box, and when you go to...
I did not realize that.
Yeah, it's on a lot of items, and we don't, because Alberta is the only one other than Atlantic Canada that doesn't have EPR. BC, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Quebec, they all have EPR, all in place. They're reaping the harvest. So the industry has already put the price of collecting that box in Quebec, but they don't know if that box is being shipped to Nova Scotia, but the price is on that box when it lands in Nova Scotia. You're paying.
To me, that'd be a no-brainer then.
But you see, CFIB and so on, they've been at the Premier's door. They don't want EPR, and now these technology companies from Sustain and so on are after the minister not to ban plastics, single-use plastic, because that'll take tons of plastic out of the system that they want. So it's kind of a
Catch-22 everywhere. Thank you very much,
catch-22.
Mr. Chair, for answering that question. I actually learned a lot from
Well,
what you just said there.
it's a difficult situation. Like I say, my meeting on Friday was scheduled for 2 hours. That's all that NSFM was going to give us, and they had other meetings to go to, but they canceled because when we got into the discussion, it was long and hard and so on. They didn't think that the Liberal caucus would allow us at a roundtable discussion and so on, but in our through NSFM, Will, he was able to convince him to allow us to sit at the table when there is discussion to the ministers on EPR. So that's a one step forward there. And then, like you say, on February 23rd, my committee has another meeting with the minister to present to her on EPR, but we have to present on a lot of things. Well, we're hoping she'll give us 2 hours. Usually they give you an hour and try to cover a lot of ground, but we're prepared. We'll go in, we'll sit down and have that discussion. The thing is, as I stated, Minister Miller is going to be she's going to be the incoming CCME president for the upcoming year. That'll give us a little bit of a better connection. I think I've mentioned it to you before. Just a little over a year ago, I had a meeting, my committee, the Resource Management Committee, we had a meeting with, at that time, Ian Rankin, who was the Minister of Environment in Halifax. And through our discussion, each one of the members had an opportunity to bring their points forward to the minister and so on. And my last comment to the minister, as I finished off, was I would like to have seen the Nova Scotia Environment, New Brunswick Environment Minister, and the PEI Minister of Environment get together to have a discussion on single-use plastic. I believe, and I don't think I'm wrong, I believe that between the 3 Atlantic provinces that there would be enough film plastic and other underutilized plastic that could be used as a manufacturing form or something within the 3 Atlantic provinces. If it was in New Brunswick, across the bridge from PEI and across from Amherst into Moncton, and have a facility there that would be able to utilize. It's not having enough of something in order to be able to do something. If you need 10 ton and you only got 9, you can't do it. Well, if the 3 the 3 provinces came together, I think we'd have more than enough plastic to either make plastic wood, make a plastic product of some type. See, but that's not interested to them. But maybe through this new committee across Canada, maybe they'll come up with something and along that line. It's other than that, I don't know what to tell you on that. Well, you have the letter there. I'd like to take this opportunity to inform you of the amendments we have made to our solid waste resource management regulations. You know, waste to energy, they're pushing that hard, so everything's going to be put on, I think, on a whole basis. But I have all kinds of information here if you'd like me to go through it all, but I don't think you want me to go through it all. On that note, let's move on. (7.2) Bernadette Jordan, named as Minister of Rural Economic Development. That is in your package. There is a link that you can go to. I did have a discussion with the CAO pertaining to this, and the wishes, or what we came up with, is that we would possibly, if it's agreeable with council, send a letter of congratulations and an invitation to take the opportunity to meet with this council. Someone? Councillor Cunningham, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's a very good idea, and I was pleased to see that this minister was appointed, and now we have somebody responsible specifically for rural economic development. Having said that, those are good ideas, and I think we should prep a list of certainly things that are important in terms of economic development. I mean, front of mind for me would be the airport. It's nice to have somebody in an adjoining riding or district, electoral district association, and on the South Shore, that close to be able to talk about the airport with. So I think that's an advantage. And secondly is the condition of the 101 in and the 103. I mean, we all drive, we're in rural communities, we all drive to other areas of the province often, and I mean, the highways, even though there have been some improvements, I mean, some of the stretches on the 101 and 103 are really dangerous, heavy volumes of traffic, and really do need, and obviously the 101 needs to be even completed down this way. So those are two things that come to mind, but I'm sure that we can prepare a list to have that conversation when she does come to meet with us.
Okay. Councillor Durkee?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to add the condition of some of our wharves to that list as well, because I know from experience
Good point.
in our area, there's some issues.
Yeah.
I'm sure Dan can add to that, and we certainly know the one, the marginal wharf in town too, so.
Yeah, good point. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. It should also be noted for the record and for the benefit of our constituents who are participating via live stream that not only was this cabinet appointment done for a member of parliament who's from Nova Scotia and a rural community, but it's a brand new department. It's a brand new cabinet position. So the mandate, the scope, the agenda, that's all being worked on right now. So it's timely to offer to engage with the minister and make our issues known to her.
Yeah. The other thing on Friday, one of the people that was with me at my meeting was from that, well, we call it Region 6, and they spoke very highly of her. She had been into every one of the councils within Region 6 to have a, on solid waste and so on, and she's a federal MP. So we were quite pleased that she was in that position now. But the thing that Valda told me was, if you're requesting her to come before your council, she'll probably be there. She'll probably be there. She said she's very dedicated. She's very forthcoming. So made me feel good on hearing that. So it's agreeable, just to send a letter. Thank you. 7.3, you have that in your package, councillors. That's your December development report. What is your wishes? Any questions or, okay. Councillor Allen, go ahead.
I have no questions. I guess I'd like to make a motion to accept the development report as circulated to us.
Okay. Have a mover, do we have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Durkee. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. Thank you. .4, CAO report. You have that in your package. My one concern here is don't let your CAO off with just presenting the report. Question.
If I may, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
I realize the report is very lengthy this month. It's because it's your report as of December 31st, which is the end of the third quarter. So there's financial reporting in there that would only come quarterly, and there's reporting on our action item register and strategic priorities, which will only come quarterly. So I realize it's long, but it's only because it's the end of the quarter.
Oh, Councillor Cunningham, go ahead.
Right, I was just wondering where the there were dollars in the budget to begin engineering on the Milo Stretch project, sidewalk / pavilion project to have the conceptual piece done, and it's pretty close to the end of March. Just wonder where we are with that.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Great question, Councillor Cunningham. So, what I did in my approach to that assignment, partly to learn about the file, because there's been work done on that file down through the years by this municipal council, and there's been dollars spent on engineering and conceptual drawings. I had to have an understanding of the legislative and license and application framework that would go with the project like that. So who would we need permission from to do the project? Who would the partners be? Who's impacted? Who are the stakeholders? So I actually met with private industry and some provincial departments about 4 weeks ago. And I learned that DFO actually will be the first place to stop to get permission to even consider the project. I had very high-level discussions with the power utility and with some telecommunications companies to get a sense of, before we can even think that the project is a go, what kind of ducks do we have to get in a row? And I have to say that I was a little bit shocked with some possible costs for some elements of the project. So it was recommended to me by the provincial departments that were at the table, which was Fisheries and Aquaculture and Environment, that I actually have a conversation with DFO to find out what we would have to do to apply to their department to get permission to do the project. So what do they need? Because there will be costs associated with that application. And so those engineering dollars that were allocated in this budget, I would prefer to use them to satisfy those application requirements rather than design a system that DFO won't entertain. Does that make sense to council?
Sorry, go ahead, Councillor.
It does. Having said that, I would like to see the project proceed as soon as possible. I know the complexity of it, but I mean, I think we did a certain amount of money to ensure that moved along as a priority project. And anyway, it's not really where I'd hoped it would be at this juncture. But thank you for the report, and looking forward to quickening the pace of the move forward and getting some of those regulatory pieces, you know, moved by, so we can get the project on the go and start talking about the shovels in the ground, so to speak, sooner rather than later. Thank you.
Was there any other concerns, questions? If not, I have a couple that I'd like to comment on. Right from the very lead off into the CAO's report, fire dispatch. Also, there's REMO, and also down a little ways further is on the HVAC system at Webcom. With the fire dispatch, that has been basically, I say 99% finalized with Digby, our volunteer fire departments and so on. And I want to take this opportunity on TV to thank the CAO for the diligent work that she and staff did on finding a timely solution, and a solution that our volunteer fire departments out in the municipality are comfortable with, and are willing, you know, and we're more than willing to go forward with Digby, because Digby has made presentations and they were very comfortable with it. On the Webcom, the HVA system, I am pleased to report, as councillors can see, that basically the system is in, working and so on. And I want to thank you on behalf of my fellow councillors and so on to getting that finalized and finished off. That is an important industry and business to the municipality and to Yarmouth County. So I'm glad that that one is done. And would I be right in saying, are they going to be looking at, in the very near future, having kind of an opening for whatever?
At web.com,
Yes.
Warden? Yes. So once the system is commissioned and it's all been tested and all the cleanup work is done, then the site director and myself will work with council to celebrate the finishing of the project and to give you an opportunity to see some changes that have been made in there, because there have been some changes to how they organize their work and how they organize their teams and so forth. So yeah.
Okay. And then the other one, I know the deputy warden, myself, and Councillor Allen sit on EMO, and the new, let's say the new system, REMO, that we're looking at setting up, which is basically a regional emergency measures organization. That'll be the 3 municipal units. That'll be the town of Yarmouth, the municipality of Yarmouth, and the municipality of Argyle. In the past, it's just been the town and Argyle, or town and the municipality of Yarmouth, and we share a lot of the services. So we thought we'd become a regional style of EMO. Then, so the 3 units will come together and form that. So I know that the CAO is working on that. So that, and I guess my question to her, would that be an accomplishment for 2019? Would we be able to close the loop, make that a full circle in 2019, or?
So it's our hope that we will have REMO largely in place by April for your new fiscal year. Our current agreement with our acting emergency measures coordinator goes to the end of March. So I have a draft agreement that Alain and Jeff and I are looking at together. Once we tighten that up, that's really the biggest hurdle, is to get the agreement ratified by all 3 councils, and then it moves fairly swiftly after that.
And the last one that I want to talk about, you have in your thing there, is, and I had a discussion with one of the members of the Asset Management Committee, and to the CAO and to the councillor that sits on that Asset Management Committee. It's a lot of work for you and so on. It'll all be good in the end, but thank you very much for taking up the lead. And thank you, Councillor Cushion, for stepping up and doing it. Not that I don't want to sit on any committees and so on, but that one is a lot of responsibility for both staff and for council, and it means a lot to every municipal unit in the province of Nova Scotia. So, go ahead, Councillor.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Warden. I'll have a few comments on that committee later on.
Okay, thank you. On that note, I'm sorry, Councillor Cunningham.
Yeah, just one more, I'd like a little bit more of from our CEO through you, Mr. Warden, and about the Hebron Shed addition, just for the public. Maybe talk a little bit about the history of that project, where it was, and why we decided to go with the Hebron Maintenance Shed addition rather than a completely new facility and so forth, and the fact that there is going to be a road upgrade there to the municipal park. So, if you would, please.
Sure. Thank you, Councillor Cunningham. Briefly, the background is that there was a recognition on the part of Council that the Public Works Department required some resources to contain the equipment that you've invested in, both to preserve the useful life of the equipment, but to also do maintenance on the equipment and provide safe and appropriate working conditions for the team, for the staff. So in recognizing that need, there's also the requirement to balance resources. So we have a certain amount of money to work with in order to satisfy the needs. And as some people are aware, we have gone to market twice with 2 different building designs to try and fill those needs of the organization within those budgetary constraints. And it's been a challenge. It's been a significant challenge. And so the task was, what's another option? And I, with the help of the team, looked all around. We looked at buildings around, we looked at buildings we could lease, and we looked at buildings we could own. The Hebron Maintenance Shed at the Hebron Rec Complex is used in a very similar way by another department as to what the Public Works staff needs. So through discussions with staff and discussions with the Director of Public Works specifically addressing his needs, the compromise was to put an extension on that building at the Hebron Rec Complex to the size that would be required to perform the work on the equipment and to store the equipment we have. And so the stage that we're at right now is evaluating access to that building year-round so that the team can get in and out year round. And there are deficiencies with the driveway into that complex. And so that will be the first order of business, will be to do some upgrades to that driveway. We have drawings in hand, and we are now outlining the procurement process to go to market and begin to look for a vendor or vendors for that project. And I can't stress enough how council has worked and staff have worked to balance the needs of the department with the fiscal reality. And it's important for people to understand that that is the balance we're trying to achieve here. There is a finite number of dollars and there's a need operationally, and we're trying to bring the two together.
Is there anything else? Hearing nothing, we can, second here. I don't know if it's the same. 7.5, municipal bursaries. Okay, thank you. You'll take note of that, please. Councillor Cunningham,
Declaring a
conflict on the bursaries, please. You have that in your package, councillors. I believe there is a recommendation. Sorry, just a second. I hit the wrong one. Back here. You have that in your package. There's, I believe, recommendations or information from the CAO on the municipal bursaries. What is your wishes and or discussions? Had you taken the time to read it, or I'm not? Deputy Warden, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. As you all know, I forwarded an email in regarding this item 7.5 on the municipal bursary, and I had a couple concerns with it, and I'll explain what those concerns are. There's 4 recommendations here that were recommended by the CAO. That the bursaries be named Modi Leaders of Tomorrow Bursary. I absolutely 100% agree with that, because the people that are receiving these bursaries are going to be our leaders of tomorrow in whatever form they may take. Number 2, that the 2 awards be increased from $750 to $1,000 each. So that would mean 2 bursaries of $1,000 each to 2 separate students. I totally agree with that, and the CAO had put in a report in regards to, what's the word I'm looking for? I lost it. About the cost of university and stuff going up on, the rising tuition of 19.53% increase. That has been a huge financial burden on all residents of the municipality district of Yarmouth. So I totally agree, and I had stated a couple times that I think that this bursary should go up a little bit, because education certainly is not getting any cheaper. The third one, the qualification requirements be amended. And the recommendation here is to a 3-year grade 10, 11, and 12 academic average of 75%. I personally have a very big problem with that. Over the years, the municipality district of Yarmouth has given out these bursaries to different students, and I remember 2 in particular that the students had not so great marks, but they passed. One person out in the Carlton area received this bursary, and she now has her own business, Nails and Aesthetics by, I'm not going to say her name because I'm not trying to promote it. But anyway, she took a cosmetics course in Burge, and I went back and reviewed her marks. Her average mark was about 60. But this was one person that I knew that was going to graduate but would not receive any bursaries from anybody else. And the reason why I think that is because whenever I go to these functions when their kids are graduating, it always seems to be the kids with the 90 and above average that receive all their bursaries. I never forget that this girl, when she come off stage, she made a point afterwards of coming over and giving me the big hug. She goes, "You don't know how much the $750 means to me." She didn't have a lot. She didn't have the greatest marks. There was also another young girl, I remember that she's my son's age. She lives out in Councillor LeBlanc's area. She had brain cancer. Her marks were not that good. She struggled to get through high school because of her treatments and stuff. She has since graduated college, and she's now living in the municipality. Stories like that make me feel good. I don't think that we should base our bursaries on marks. As far as I'm concerned, if a student gets accepted to a post-secondary education center, whether it be trade school, whether it be NSCC, whether it be college, university, wherever, I think if they're qualified and accepted to get in, I think that they should be accessible to our grants. I think the mark should be deleted from that. The academic average is 75%. The applicants reside in the municipality of Yarmouth or that's a spelling error, or be a child of a ratepayer in the municipality of District of Yarmouth. If my question to that would be, is what if we have someone who lives in the municipality, or it doesn't matter what municipality in Nova Scotia they live in. Say, for example, if they own a small piece of woodland property that's only taxed forestry. They may only pay $10, $15 if it's a small piece. Does that mean that that person also gets access to our grants? I don't believe that that should be. I think all the applicants should reside in the municipality district of Yarmouth. That's just my own personal opinion. And item number 4, that the application requirements be approved as presented in the draft Modi Leaders of Tomorrow bursary. I would agree with that if we made those small changes to item number 3 that I asked. That number 1, we remove the academic average, and number 2, that the applicants have to reside in the municipality district of Yarmouth. That would be my 2 recommendations. I didn't mean it to be all that long, but those were just my thoughts.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Cushion.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. I agree with a lot of what Councillor John Cunningham was saying about the academic average. Is sometimes there's students there who are struggling, but they're very committed to, in a trade and whatnot, and that could well benefit that. And I certainly do like the new heading that we have, Municipality Leaders of Tomorrow bursary. So those are my 2 comments, and I won't go on as long as John did, so we'll leave it at that.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Just to add to the important points that the Deputy Warden brought up, if Council was interested in addressing some of the barriers for children, for example, who are the subject of a custody agreement. So they may reside in one municipality and have a parent in another municipality, which is kind of where I was going with that suggestion on the change. So be the child of a ratepayer in the municipality. Council could qualify what type of ratepayer. You could say a commercial ratepayer or a residential ratepayer if you wanted to do that.
Go ahead, Deputy Warden.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I totally agree that I understand that point, and that never crossed my mind. So thank you very much for putting that forward. I would personally agree. I don't want to speak for the rest of us, but I would personally agree that if it was a ratepayer in the municipality of Yarmouth that was residential, I would in residing in here. And you're absolutely right. There may be a couple little things in there. that I do agree with that. I never thought of it that way. All I thought of is forestry because, for example, I own a small plot of land in the municipality of Clare that I only pay $9.58 in taxes on. So does that mean that I'm going to be,
Right.
as that's written, and that's the way that I would take it?
For
well,
sure.
That's what I would call a quote unquote loophole. But I do agree with your suggestion. If they were a residential ratepayer in the municipality of Yarmouth, I could go along with that.
Okay. Anybody else? Councillor Durkee, go ahead.
Would you like me to make a motion on that regard? Are we ready for that?
I was going to ask
Okay,
that.
so I'd like to make a motion that we increase that we adopt the name Modi Leaders of Tomorrow. Increase the awards to $1,000 each. Take out the academic average requirement. So basically, as we try that one again. So I'd like to make a motion to adopt the recommendations of the CAO with the amendments that have been suggested. Does that make sense?
We have a mover. Do we have a seconder for that motion? Been moved by Councillor Durkee, seconded by Councillor Allen. Was there any further discussion on? I guess before I call the motion, Liz, did you get what, okay. Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. So I am assuming, before I vote on this motion, that the academic average of 75% will be taken out and that the child will have, sorry, there's that typo that keeps getting me in there.
I'm sorry.
And
Applicants reside in the municipality of Yarmouth or be a ratepayer, so the ratepayer would also include that they are a residential ratepayer.
yes.
Okay, just being clear on what I'm voting on. Thank you very much.
The motion by Councillor Durkee had been seconded by Councillor Allen. Question on the motion being called. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded. Motion carried. Thank you very much. This afternoon, the CAO and myself, we had a discussion on the municipal bursary, and I commended on her on the information that she had there for us to go over and to read, and it makes it, as I stated to her, made it a lot easier for us to make decisions and can see it instead of just, what do you want to do on the municipal bursaries. She gave you a lot of options, changing the name, which makes it, Leaders of Tomorrow and so on, adds a lot of class to it, and I think those were all good points. So I told her to keep up the good work and keep feeding us information. So 7.6, request for grants. 7.6.1, Yarmouth Relay for Life 2018. 7.6.1.1, revised income statement, and 7.6.1.2, corporate donations. What is the wishes? I don't know if that is a time. Oh, go ahead. You must have.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. If I could suggest to council that these are requests for grants, and typically they're deferred to our budget process.
Yeah.
We're working through the process with each one of them to make sure their grant applications are complete. And so my recommendation would be that 7.6.1, 7.6.2, and 7.6.3 be referred to the budget process.
Okay, well, we'd have to have a motion to do that, but 7.6.3, Communities in Bloom, that's not a time-sensitive one, is it? I know it's this fall, I think. Would I-
A presentation.
Okay, so there is time, yeah, okay, I thought there was, but I know sometimes some of them are time-sensitive for them to move forward and so on. So I would entertain a motion. Go ahead, Councillor.
I'll move that we move the grants as circulated in the agenda to the budget process.
Okay. I have a mover. Do I have a seconder? Seconded, moved by Councillor Trevor Cunningham, seconded by Councillor Daniel Allen. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. 7.7, Nova Scotia Federation of Municipalities Spring Workshop and Fall Conference Session Topic Request. Deadline February 7th. That's just a little over a week away. What is the wishes of council? Do you have some topics that you would have staff submit for us? Go ahead, Councillor Cunningham.
No, I would suggest that there be a session on how to access funding through the new federal Department of Rural Economic Development and some Nova Scotia priorities.
On rural economic development, how to access money. It's a good topic. Yeah. Yeah. Anything else that you can, Deputy Warden, go ahead.
Rural internet. That is our number one top priority. That seems to be the top priority of all rural municipalities. Might as well keep it in the forefront.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. So, Mr. Deputy Warden, to be more clear and more specific, would you like to have an update from Develop Nova Scotia on how the request for qualifications process has turned out?
Whatever I can do.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be great. One topic, if I may, would be, and I don't know how to present it or how they would do it, would be on any, how maybe some municipal units have done some legwork or have some policies in place on cannabis and so on in the workplace in their municipal unit. Because, you know, and or an update. I don't know through, well, I guess I'd have to have a discussion with you through the police, whatever, for them to make a presentation, good, bad, or indifferent, or how they're having an effect and so on. Go ahead, Deputy Ward.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Actually, our Police Advisory Committee is meeting next month, and that's one of the top things that's on for questions that I'm going to have for the staff sergeant in regards to policing and how much has possibly been spent, how many tests they've done. I don't know what even the cost of the tests are. I did hear that there's going to be an additional expense. So since we do pay for a portion of policing, that's information that I'd like to know, because that we're going to have to lobby the NSFM along with the FCM, the provincial and federal governments, to try to get some cost recovery on the added expense to the municipality, District of Yarmouth at least.
Yeah.
So that information, hopefully, I'm going to be able to find out on our next Police Advisory Committee meeting.
Yeah, it'd be just, you know, at a spring workshop, it would be good to see what has transpired since it's become legal and so on. And like I say, I don't know, they can figure out which department, whether, you know, through the RCMP, whatever, maybe some. So on. If you think of anything between now and the February 7th, please just email them off to the CAO. 7.8, appointments to committee, boards, and authorities. You have that in your package. I guess that's just, this is where you're...
Ratification.
Yeah, you ratify, where you now sit, where you didn't sit before, eh? Is it? I'm sorry, I haven't gone through it. So somebody has to bring me up to speed.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So that
Okay.
that is the results of the workshop that council
Yes.
went through in review of the
Yes.
boards,
what I
commissions,
thought.
authorities, committees that we work on.
Yes.
So there were a few changes, and this is only what changed. So the list that we put in your package are only the new appointments, and I would request council to approve those changes, please.
Go ahead, Councillor.
Right, I'll move that council, that the municipality district of Yarmouth approve the changes to the council representation is circulated.
We have a mover. Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Allen. Sorry, Councillor. You've heard the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded. Motion carried. 7.9, entrance to municipal driveway. Councillor Cunningham, go ahead.
As you may have noticed, councillors, when you turn in to the municipal building, coming from town or west going east, and you'll notice right there in the parking lot, the gravel parking lot, it's been curbed, but there's no sidewalk cut in there, nor is there any kind of concrete there to sort of finish the ability to get on the sidewalk. And so what ends up happening is when you're coming by there, and the same thing truthfully happens at the red and white, if there's snow or anything like that, it forces you out into the road because it's a very, very small curve. It's very, very, first of all, I guess in my mind, it does introduce a safety issue, especially right at the front of our driveway. It's unsightly and just looks unfinished, and maybe through you, Mr. Warden, our CEO had indicated she was going to look into the issue a little bit, so maybe she has an update.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. I do, Councillor Cunningham, have an update. So although it appears that the curb that's being referred to starts in our driveway and goes down to the end of our driveway and wraps around towards the soccer pitch, although it appears as though that's all one curb, they were actually done at 2 different times. So when the driveway entrance was finished for this building, we installed a curb to direct stormwater down to the drain, the catch basin that's at the end of the driveway. Our partners at Transportation and Infrastructure Renewal came to us and indicated that they wanted to control access to Highway 1 from the parking lot for the soccer pitch, and wanted the curb installed to create a defined entrance to that parking lot off and on Highway 1. So the curb that runs along Highway 1 was done after our driveway was completed. So that was a request from the engineer, and we fulfilled that request. There was significant debate between the municipality and the department at the time. And in fact, the curb was done by the rec department through their budget, because the soccer pitch is on that list of facilities and assets for the recreation services we deliver. So that's why it's the way it is. And that's really all I can tell you.
Go ahead, Councillor.
So that is a good history of it, but and I understand that's all you can say, but it doesn't negate the fact that it should really be cleaned up and finished up, and so the curb was put there, which is probably the most expensive part of the project. So if we could maybe get a little costing of that, it's just a matter of, I guess, cutting out the curb on the kind of end, so you can have ingress, egress, and pouring the slabs and finishing the work up to make it so you can walk along the side there, and maybe put in a little bit of sod or something. So if it's all right, I'll make a motion to have staff look into that, not necessarily in terms of a general cost estimate, not necessarily engineering or anything that at this point, but just a general cost estimate, and bring it back.
Yeah, to finish it to our driveway.
Yes,
To the sidewalk to our
yeah.
driveway. Yeah, it's asphalt anyway. It's an asphalt, yeah. Okay. So it's been moved by Councillor Cunningham. Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor George LeBlanc. Councillor LeBlanc. Was there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded. Motion carried. The last item under new business is the Hospital Foundation Radiothon. It's going to be held on February 7th. I am in Truro on the 7th. They've sent an email asking if the municipality of Yarmouth was willing to participate in the Radiothon, and that myself would set up a time to go and do a 3 to 4 minute interview. I can't, as I said, I'm not here on the 7th, so I was going to ask the deputy warden if he was available. If he wasn't, if a fellow councillor could, I would send the information to you, because you have to call and tell them that you're going to be there, and what time would you prefer, et cetera, and so on. So I'm going to put it out there first to the Deputy Warden. Are you available on February 7th to go ahead?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I am, and I gladly do it. I've done it twice before
I believe
on
so.
your behalf or,
Yes.
or another warden's behalf, and had a lot of fun doing it and
Yes.
put out a couple challenges.
Well, that's where the second part of my question was going. In the past, the municipality councillors have put some money in the kitty and challenged any of the other municipal units and so on, or any of the other councillors. So I've designated the executive assistant as the banker, and I believe she's already has my my contribution and so on. And if you fellow councillors wish to contribute, she'll make sure that John has it, and for the 7th, go down. And we can also hit on our solicitor at the same time. No, but yeah. They probably have their own group or organization and so on. It is good, it's a lot of fun and so on. So that's agreeable, you're willing to, able to do that and so on. I'll send you the information and so on.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And another thing that they usually have there is an empty change bucket.
Oh, okay.
So what I've done in the past is emptied out my truck of all the nickels and dimes, and believe it or not, yes, still some pennies laying around underneath my seats.
Yeah,
So if anyone has any extra change in the truck,
yeah,
maybe you could add
Yep.
that, because
do whatever.
nickel and dime
Yeah.
here and there adds up.
Yeah.
And actually, they made quite a bit of money the last time
Yeah.
in regards to what was in that change bucket.
Yeah.
I went up there the last time and just poured it in slow, and so it made the radio effect sound like it was going all the time. Ding, 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 ding.
Just like, yeah,
But that was actually, a lot of that was me throwing in stuff when they were live on air, so
Yeah.
it was kind of neat.
they've done very well in the last couple of years. This will be, I think, their third, no, their fourth one, I believe. I know Jeff from Murray Motors has been, I think, the chairperson or whatever of that committee and ran with it, and they done an excellent job last year and so on, as they always have, and it goes to good. It's going for a respirator, I believe, mechanical respirator. Just a second. In the respiratory. A mechanical ventilator for the respiratory service department and so on. On that note, if there's no further comments, we'll move into item number 8, which is reports. I'll go down through them real quick. Am I in the right? Oh. Right in here. Friends of the Light, okay, Friends of the Light, any report? Mariner Center Management Board, there's nothing on that. Regional Solid Waste Authority, I wasn't able to be at that meeting. I don't know if Councillor LeBlanc, that was on the 14th. The waste check meeting on the 14th. Was there anything, nothing major at their meeting? It was teleconferencing, wasn't it?
Yeah. I'm trying to think of, Gia explained that the staff work with the RCMP to set up a traffic stop and hand out litter bag and information explaining the effects of litter.
Yes.
And, we're going to discuss that with the RCMP. with the-
Okay, yeah, to do something in our municipal unit. Yeah, good point. Good point. Okay. Western Regional Counties Library Board.
Meeting, the end of February.
Western Regional Economic Development, REN's Liaison and Oversight Committee. There's been no meeting.
Correct.
Yarmouth Area Industrial Committee Commission. We had a meeting Monday night. The interim manager or acting manager brought us up to speed. The Domtex project is basically 99% complete, just a couple of signatures and so on, and we'll be finished with that project, that demolition completely. Our medical clinics at this time are both functioning and working to the best of their abilities and so on. We are looking at a new a day-to-day tenant moving into Pubnico, was it not? I think into the Pubnico clinic and so on, and it'll be a good thing for the local people. It's a medical thing, but it's not a doctor operation or anything like that. But Yarmouth and Acadian Shores Tourist Association. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Councillor.
We had a meeting, when was it? The 15th, I think. 15th of January. And it started off with the financial report, and then I'm trying to think of his name. Neil talked about getting ready for the tourist season, and we had a new member there, Mark Rod, and he was kind of recognized for the work they're going to do on the colony and the Grand Hotel.
Yes.
And there was an item here, I don't know if a letter from Trout Point Lodge that there's an ATV group that is trying to get access to the Tobiatic area, which is a protected area, and they want to widen their trails, and there was quite a lot of discussion on that, which personally I'm against that. You know, that's a very protected area, and if we start having ATVs there, then it's going to keep on. There was another item. Oh, Neil went to a show, a tourist show in Boston, and it went quite well. He said that most of the people, 95% or more, weren't against the change of going to Bar Harbor. He said there was probably maybe 4 or 5 people that had negative thoughts about that, but most of it, people were glad to, you know, oh, it's going to be a nice ride. We can go and take a vacation and stay in Bar Harbor, maybe an extra day, and then take the boat to Nova Scotia. And he also told us about the schedule. The Bar Harbor schedule is out. It's gonna leave here at 9 o'clock in the morning and arrive here at 7:30 at night. And it's going to be a full schedule every day from June the 15th to middle of September, I think. And then it won't go on Wednesdays after that till the 15th of October.
That's okay. Yarmouth County Solid Waste Management Authority. They have a meeting on is it February 6th? That's the next meeting for the solid waste part. I think that's what I have in, I believe. Let me get out of here and get back in. Yes, February 6th, Solid Waste Park. And I'm gonna, I won't be able to make that. I'm in Halifax on the 6th. Do I have a, there's no alternate for that, is there? No. You don't have an alternate on that one. So I think everything, I haven't heard any issues and so on from the manager about the park or anything. I think it's all been working good and so on. I know our new scale was in the last report. Scale was working good and they were very pleased with the accuracy and so on that. Item number 9, the Yarmouth International Airport Corporation. You folks had a meeting, or they had a meeting on Friday, which I was away. So Deputy Warden, I don't know if there is, go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Chair, there's not too much that I can report on where some of it was done in camera. However, the general consensus sitting around the board, and I believe our CAO is going to be heading up this project. Within the next 5 or so weeks, we're going to start a planning session, what our strategic vision is for that airport, because there's always been some talk about we have some surplus properties out there, and I'd made the point along with the warden had mentioned to me a few times that you can't really go ahead and sell stuff if you don't have a plan in place and stick by it. So what we're going to do is we're going to have all municipal councillors, all the funding partners, sit around a table for a strategic session and sit down and hammer this out, have a plan, and move forward. Because we all know that airports are expensive, and we want to know what right-sized is, because there seems to be some disagreement even amongst ourselves on what the vision and plan is for the airport. We really got to sit down and decide where we're moving and how we're going to do it, and have a plan and stick by it. So that's basically where we're heading. I do know that I believe it was our CEO, Victoria, what was going to be heading part of that up to set all this up and get the dates, because I do believe that the end date is they wanted it done by the end of this fiscal year, March the 31st. So March 31st is coming up pretty quick. We've got a lot of work to do in a very short amount of time to do it. But at the end of the day, when this plan is done, at least we can say that this is a plan brought forward by consensus, and we're going to move forward. Because we have an asset out there, and we can't really do anything to it until we actually have a plan and stick by the plan. We have to. We've been beaten up with this airport for years now. That's my report, Mr. Chair.
Okay. I guess I have a question, and I won't direct it to you. I'll direct it through to the CAO. The chairperson of that committee is Mayor Mood. Who is the vice chair? Do they have a vice chair? No, and nor do I.
Mr. Chairman, I would have to check on that. I'm thinking it.
Well, if I may, it's something that can be looked into. The reason why I'm asking the question is I don't know how many more meetings that the airport is going to have, and if Mayor Mood, I know she is, my understanding is putting her name forward for nomination and so on, and if it is, so on, I don't want to, I guess, if there is no vice chair in place now, they should probably possibly put we should have a vice chair, because if Mayor Mood does move forward, you don't want to be caught without a chairperson to call a vice chair or whatever. So I'd like it checked into, I guess.
So I have an answer to your question without knowing the answer to your question.
You good?
So as I was reviewing the governance documents for the airport in preparation for the meeting last week, I did happen to note that the governance structure for the airport requires that the chair of the Yarmouth International Airport Corporation be for a one-year term and not for successive terms. So if I'm looking at the calendar correctly, actually Mayor Mood's term as chair of the corporation either has or is about to expire, depending on how you interpret the agreement. And so therefore, we actually have an agenda item that's got to get on there to elect a new chair and vice chair.
Okay, that was just a concern that I had. I was thinking here on my way home from Halifax the other night, and said, okay, you know, I mean, if it does move forward, that's one thing. But I mean, if it does, you don't want, you know, all of a sudden you don't even have somebody to call a meeting and to run. I realize the CAO can lead a meeting for an election of a chairperson. And I just thought, well, there's should be something to be looked into, move forward, that's all. Okay. Number 2, audit committee, there's been no meeting. CAO committee, which is made up of myself, the deputy warden, and Councillor Durkee. We will have to set maybe we might have a little time this evening to set a date. Do we need to meet? Do we not?
Mr. Chair, we could set a date, however, I don't have my calendar in front of me. I left my phone home, which is probably the best thing I've done all day today. So I can't respond
okay.
whether I'm available one time or another, so
Okay.
maybe we'll have to do that by
Yeah.
correspondence.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Item number 3, doctor recruitment and retention committee. Okay. Go ahead. There. You're
I
on.
think it's on.
You're on.
Great, thank you. Mr. Chair, thank you very much. We had a meeting on Tuesday, January the 8th, and we had a good discussion with Karma Chakowski. She is the person in charge of doctor recruitment for Nova Scotia Health Authority. And with her was Grayson Fulmer. He's the Senior Director for Medical Affairs. They came down to have a discussion with us to talk about what's happening in doctor recruitment, and we talked about how we can help. And so we were asking for ways that our committee could help. And so basically they are working very hard. They gave us some information and some statistics, and I can share a little bit, but I don't want to take too much of your time. But essentially, Annapolis is getting 90% retention, and we're getting 75% retention of the doctors that come here for the residency program, which is considered very highly successful. What the most difficult part is for them to get family doctors. There are a lot of specialists who want to come here. There aren't as many family doctors. There are a limited number of residency seats here in Nova Scotia for people who are trained from outside of Nova Scotia, so that makes it more challenging. They are going everywhere they can to try and get people to come here. Great. Let me see. Dal is really trying to work on getting more people to rural communities, and we're talking about connecting with Dal and seeing how we can support them. So we're looking at some things such as when someone decides to come, one of the big issues is they don't have a connector person here. So a doctor comes, they go through the process of looking, they come to a decision of whether or not they want to move here. And if they do, then what we really need is a committee that's available to help them adjust to the community, help them find a place to live, if they're from away, they need help with driver's licenses. That's a concern, because once they finish with the doctor recruitment team from Nova Scotia Health Authority, they're finished. So that's where the community can play a really big role in helping to keep them here. They said that's actually a bigger issue is retention than recruitment, is to get people to stay in rural communities. So we're looking, as I said, one of the things that we need to think about is branding ourselves as more than medicine for them to come here. And what they felt that the community here has been fantastic, and people have been really positive, those who have stayed. We talked about tours and where they should go and what they want to do when they're here. We talk about putting together a one-pager of information. What is our population? What are our schools, our professional services? What religious groups and cultural groups do we have to offer? Let me see. Making connections was important. Oh, and apparently in other communities like England, if they go to the UK, well, everything is done for them. They just get there and off they go into their practice. Well, it's not so much here. So our health group here needs to look at what do they need to provide to make sure that they're successful. Psychiatry is one of the worst for recruitment. They have 70% vacancy. in psychiatry. They said money isn't necessarily the issue, that they are offering some really good incentives. And so we're going to talk about, are there extra incentives that our community, our municipalities can provide. And again, one of the most challenging things in Yarmouth is accommodation. For when people first come here, they're looking for a nice apartment, and not that we don't have any, but we don't always have information. Or could we actually provide something, or an apartment somewhere for practicing doctors or resident doctors to come? That's one of the biggest complaints here, is a lack of accommodation. So we're going to be reaching out to people to see if they have something, because a lot of times they want to come and rent until they decide where they want to live. So that's something that we're going to address. And we have a meeting coming up this week. Dr. Moses is really keen to join us. Apparently he's been really proactive in working with the doc recruitment group. So it was really positive. I know people are really frustrated. I know we're lacking doctors, but it's the same place. And so we have to make ourselves stand above other places. It's, they choose where they're going to go, and what is it that's going to attract them? What are they looking for? What can we provide? And so that's what we're going to continue to work on.
Looks like you've been busy in a short period of time. Thank you. Was there any question from councillor on that? EMO Executive Committee meeting? Heritage Advisory meeting? Joint Green Energy? There's been no meeting. Marketing Promotions Levy Advisory Committee. They only, if I'm not mistaken, I won't say that they don't meet on a regular basis. It's usually a last minute request to meet, because I'll have a request for, I'll say there's an event going to be going on for room nights and so on. So, Yarmouth County Joint Police Advisory, I think Councillor, the Deputy Warden gave us, there's a meeting in February, you said, sir? Yes, yeah. Yarmouth Recreation meeting. The Ames Network Asset Management Cohort. Councillor Cushion. Keep it short now.
Huh? As you recall, before we departed for the vacation, our CAO passed around this information sheet. I don't know how many people had a chance to read up on it, and there's some good information and there's some good examples there. I just want to, I wrote a few things down, and some of it's going to be right off of here, but it's kind of a summary of the cohort program of asset management, of the Atlantic Infrastructure Management. Last summer, AIM, Atlantic Infrastructure Management, was selected by FCM and received a grant to build an understanding of asset management and related technical capacity in municipalities in the Atlantic region. FCM and the federal government recognize that asset management has tremendous potential to direct infrastructure investments towards long-term outcomes for our communities. Now, it's very important, I believe. To me, as a council for the municipality of Yarmouth, provides our council to develop long-range and short-range plans with a direction that staff can prepare budgets for ongoing and future projects. I want to thank our CAO and her staff in grasping this opportunity to move our municipality in a positive direction. As council representative on this committee, and will continue to be a positive venture for me in a better understanding how municipality can plan and execute projects that will benefit our citizens in the municipality now and in the future. One component of this exercise was a session where we had to point out what level service we presently are providing to our citizens, and that had to be rated. And I found that pretty interesting. I was thinking quite high there, but, and then the exercise was, and where we wanted to be after a period of time. It was a great exercise to go through And so I thought that part was very interesting. I'm looking for the next ones coming up. So in closing, I just hope our neighboring municipalities will also embrace this worthy project created by FCM in the federal government. I think it's, we talked about joint projects, that bad word that you guys are talking about there, I don't want to talk about that one, but some regional work that can be done. I think it's a great opportunity for us to move forward. So anyway, that's my 2 cents worth. Thank you.
Was there any questions pertaining? Hearing none. The next one is a very hard one this time of year for the committee to check on, but it's the Fence Arbitration Committee. I don't know if...
The fence looks great out here. It's up.
You know, I would imagine there'd be some repairs at their Fence Arbitration Committee. You know, at one time, all municipal units had that because there was always a lot of hobby farmers and so on. They always had fences and always had issues. Oh yes, cattle running in the road. And, you know, I don't know if any of the new first-time councillors, if cattle were loose and the municipality knew of it and there was an accident, the municipality could be held liable. Really. And so it could be quite a costly thing. Go ahead, councillor.
Well, no, I probably shouldn't be saying this, but a few years ago, before I became councillor, my daughter and her friend and I were on our way to a campground in Darlings Lake, and we came across 2 young calves walking up the Brooklyn Road. And we stopped, and I knew the gentleman that owned them, and I called him, and he came up, and we had to herd them up the road to get them off the road back in with their mother. So I didn't realize that if I hit it, the municipality would have been...
Only if the municipality was aware of it, because the animal can get out and just gotten out, and we wouldn't be aware. But as our solicitor was there was a time when animals were at large for an extended period of time.
Yes.
And the municipality knew of it, but the farmers were trying to get them in. It took them weeks to get them caught because they got wild.
Either way, my daughter and her friend had quite a time. They had
It
quite
can
a
be
time
interesting.
with those.
I've chased cattle on the road
Yeah.
before. Yeah.
Yeah, they were only the calves, so it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had a fun time.
Well, they hit a full size, more than anything, it's in early morning or late evening and so on. It's worse than hitting a deer. You have a full grown cow, you hit it, they're almost like a moose and so on. It'd be quite damaging and so on. So that's why municipalities have, we still have it anyway. Go ahead, Councillor, question.
Oh, I'm on anyway. Sorry about that. Just to give you a little history. Up in Port Maitland, you'll see that there's, I don't know if people are aware of it or not, but there's a stone corral that was built years ago because if cattle strayed out, they would be put in there and then the person would be contacted.
Yeah.
So, and that's still there.
Yes, they had
It's not being used. I don't think it's being looked after.
Cattle pounds is what they were, and you paid a fine.
Yeah.
You had to pay a fine in order to get your animal back.
Yeah.
And so on, But no, and I don't know where else we go to find that.
Yeah.
There was no
What's that nursery rhyme about the cow jumping?
no in-camera recommendations.
Wait a
was there?
minute. We can still get the municipal alcohol.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I apologize. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The municipal alcohol program name has been changed to, we call the Yarmouth County Community Substance Use Partnership.
Okay.
Just want to mention to you that the person who really got this whole project going was Larry Phillips. And he's moving to the valley as he transfer in the same type of position with the health authority, and he'll be doing the same work up there. Larry was key to organizing this committee and served in his services. I've been on the board since 2017. I've seen Larry enhance the work of the committee to include partners from the 3 municipalities, Tri-County School Board, Tri-County Women's Center, Community Health Board, and Larry's position as Prevention and Health Promotion Coordinator in Mental Health and Addictions. Larry has brought to this committee to be involved in a Western Zone Community Partnership, which includes Lunenburg County Community Alcohol Partnership, Yarmouth County Community Substance Use Partnership, and the Community Alcohol Partnership in the Annapolis Valley. And we had a video conference at Nova Scotia Community College back in, oh shoot, I forgot to write that one down, December, I believe it was. And all the community colleges that were involved in, in the valley, and also in Lunenburg, they were able to use their facility to do this video conference, so which was very good. So it's good to see Nova Scotia Community College on board to help out with this technical side of it to do this kind of stuff. Moving forward, our committee will continue and collaborate with others to focus on substance abuse. Our main focus was to establish bylaws in our PAC to put into place. Our council stated we do not have the financial resources to enforce any bylaws which is acceptable under funding by the province and the federal government. Once that comes to be, and at that time our council may entertain this option of doing something once we get funding, but that's not going to happen. Our council discussed at length whether to have a representative on this committee or not. It was decided we would have a representative to keep our council aware of the substance abuse within our community. I knew that we had substance abuse in our area, but I didn't realize what's the proper extent of it. It's tremendous. So I think it's, you know, whether we put any funds into to our bylaws and whatnot, which we don't have that, but we are part of our community. It's very important for us to know what's going on in our community, and I believe this the committee that I sit on and represent council on, I think it's very important for us to keep having that information come forward and to see where we go with it, so we'll have a better understanding of the problems of the community. And I mentioned about some of the other groups, the Tri-County Women's Center and the school, Tri-County School Board and things like this. And part of Larry's function there also was into the mental health part of it. So we can think of a family and we can think of substance abuse in that family, how it can affect one's mental health, family life, community. So it's very important for us to see if somehow we can give, number one, moral support, but also to keep our community informed that we are aware of what's going on in our community, and we certainly like to see some improvements in how we can deal with it. So that's about it for now.
Okay, thank you
Thank
very much. There was no in-camera recommendations to come forward, was there? No. No. Was there any further business of council? Motion, thank you very much.